Welcome to The Script, a podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. His real name is Cardale Jones. His nickname is Beanie Wells. I'm Dave Holmes. Hit us up at The Script OSU on all socials. Make sure you subscribe right now. Click at the bottom of the screen on YouTube. That's by far the most fun when we're on video. A lot to talk about today, guys. Big news, though, comes down in the last 24 hours. Matt Patricia has a new deal to stay on as the defensive coordinator of the Ohio State Buckeyes. We kind of expected this, Beanie, because no news is good news when you're afraid your coach might leave. And at some point, the jobs are drying up at the NFL level, but it's still good to have it set in stone.
Oh, no question about it. This is something that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Is Matt Patricia and our ability to be able to have him under contract for years to come. Now, I don't know how long this new deal is. I don't know if they came out with the numbers just yet.
They have not.
But whatever it is, I'm sure it's well worth it in terms of dollars and cents. And he's probably going to be one of the highest paid coordinators in the country. It would make perfect sense for Ohio State to lock him up. And it's tough, right? Because he is coming from the NFL. So does he want a 5 or 4 year deal at the college ranks when he potentially maybe wants to be an NFL head coach again? I don't know, but I'm just glad to say we at least have him for what? I guess at least 2 years?
Well, we'll see. I mean, that's the hope, no doubt. The old number was $2.5 million, Cardale. We expect the new number probably to be around 3, maybe slightly north of 3, but to Beanie's point, we see guys, I know you've talked about Chip Kelly, where you say you think at this point Chip Kelly's done with the nonsense. He just wants to coach football.
Yeah, I just want to coach football.
You never know how Matt's feeling right now.
Yeah, like he's want to call plays, but I do think Matt deep down still want to go back and be an NFL head coach because I can only imagine the taste that left in his mouth when he went from New England, I think, to the Lions, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And things didn't go as planned, and we haven't really heard his name back in the head coaching carousel in a long time, but clearly he's killing on the defensive side of the ball. So maybe, he do want to scratch that itch here in the next couple of years, but hopefully before he leaves with a few national championships.
Yeah, well, so let's talk about the job that he has lying ahead of him, right? So he was an unbelievable coordinator last year, one of the best in the country. He had to replace 8 starters last year, and they were better. This year, he has to replace 7 starters. So, Beanie, can he pull 2 rabbits out of that hat and do this thing again?
Look, I think so. I mean, when you look at, the fact that he was able to do it last year, there were so many question marks on, who was going to replace JTT, Jack Sawyer, guys on the linebacking core. And what did we go out and do? Like you just said, we went out and looked better, and it was due in part to his system and his guys being able to pick up that system and play like they had been playing in it for several years. I think that's the indication when you have a great offensive or defensive coordinators when they can come in and get guys to play cohesively and not think when they're out there playing. So, I mean, if I'm anybody that with a brain, I'm thinking, Ohio State, they go out and recruit top tier talent. And when you got a coach who just shown you that he can go out and put out a top 5 defense in the country in year 1 with essentially, 7, 8 new guys, I think he can do it again.
I'm going to say no because I think the caliber of new guys he got to deal with versus the caliber of new guys he had to deal with last year. I mean, you still had key guys returning like Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese, Caden McDonald, and one guy who was pretty much getting everybody lined up, Caleb Downs. You don't have those guys. You don't have that experience to replace off the top of your back. And then it's hard to say, I mean, Beanie said it was a top 5 defense in college football. There was a number 1 defense in college football, all of the major stats. And to replace that many guys, not just the number of guys, but the experience and the quality of players, I don't think is another right now Caleb Downs is sitting in the locker room or Arvell Reese is sitting in the locker room. These guys need to develop to be that. But I do think still they'll be a top 10 defense in the country. But to look at some of the things they did last year, especially with the schedule they have this year, I don't think so.
I guess I'd argue and push back a little bit because I don't
push back a lot. Don't push back a little bit.
I don't think anybody anticipated Arvell Reese turning into who he turned into. I don't think anybody anticipated our defensive front looking as good as they did. Caden McDonald, yeah, we can say he was a name, but the other guys, Kenyatta Jackson, I don't think anybody anticipated those guys playing and being as productive. And I think it was
Caden Curry went nuts.
I think it was due in part to the system. So that's what
I do think the system is a big part of that. But the only reason I'm saying no is because the quality of guys you got to replace and the experience. So we talked about Ohio State reloading. I'm like, no, they're not reloading. They're developing these guys because we talked about these guys are all 8 new starters, but look how long they've been in the program.
Yeah.
As far as being a Buckeye. I mean, these guys was 4- or 5-year guys. And then you sprinkle in some first-round talent like Caleb Downs and Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles going to his 4th year. And then the things that Lorenzo was able to do. And like, that's just to name a few of those guys. IGB was a 4-year guy. So that's why I think you were able to have so much success bringing a new coordinator, because these guys already seen a lot of football. Now in the group that we have to replace them with in key positions aren't as experienced. Now you got some great guys coming out the portal with Little Jr., who got a lot of experience out of Florida State on the back end. But I think when you talk about that front seven was really helped our back end a lot. The experience isn't there yet, but clearly the ability is. Mm-hmm. But I think the experience really helped the learning curve when you talk about implementing a new system.
Well, he's worth every penny based on what he did last year, because if you look at Jim Knowles, and no disrespect to Jim Knowles, who has a national championship ring, but if you look at Jim Knowles, year one was kind of rough. Year two is Year three was good, but we got used to Jim Knowles' defense losing those late season games. Indiana only put up 13 points against Matt Patricia. And guys, 13 points now in hindsight looks like one of the best defensive efforts in college football last year. They didn't lose that Miami game because the defense, Julian Sain gave 7 points the other way. I mean, so they really did keep them in all the games. So, Beanie, your confidence seems still high that he can do it. I mean, Cardale's point is well made as far as Caleb and Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese kind of being experienced quarterbacks on the defense. They did hit the portal at the safety position. They did bring in talent, but I think Cardale's more worried about system, experience, and time, and not necessarily talent.
But we do, like you said, the portal guys that we did bring in, Little, the DB, then the guys from Alabama on the defensive line. I think those guys have seen a lot of football to where when we go out there in crunch time, they're going to be able to play at a high level, especially coupled with the system in which they're going to play in. Yeah. You know, I'm always of the belief that, you know, any system can turn a right player, a role player into a superstar. And I think that's the type of system we have on the defensive side.
Yeah, no, I agree with you to a certain extent. I think the biggest thing I'm trying to say is, like, Ohio State had historically one of the best defenses of all the college football history last year. And to say, do we expect to see that again this year? I'm just saying no. Right. I would say, yeah, going from number one to number one again, I mean, what offense or defense in all of sports
never
have ever done that, right? And even with returning starting key players. So only thing I'm going to say to that is that I wouldn't expect as dominant performances consistently. Yeah. But I do think they still have the ability to be a top 5 defense in the country, maybe top 10, because like I said, but another thing too is that we're going to talk about later on in the season is that Ohio State arguably have the number one strength of schedule.
That's true.
In all of college football. So
that's true.
Out of being a combination of those three things right there, that's why I'm leaning towards, I don't think they're going to be number one defense again in the country.
If he's top 5 again, right? If he's top 5
with that schedule and all new team.
Does he go back to the table and say, I want more money?
100%.
He has the ability to.
100%.
He has the ability to do that, but I don't think it's about the money for this guy. I think he's waiting on the right time, the right opportunity to be a head coach, and I think it's probably at the NFL level more than a college level, because some of the things you got to deal with now at the college level as a head coach. But I think he is in a perfect situation where he is coaching some top talent, guys that continue to go to the NFL, and he's playing, complementary football on both sides of the ball, where he's just waiting in the weeds for his name to get thrown back in there for the head coaching jobs on college and NFL.
We talked about this. I think right now we're seeing, and we talked about it during the season, I think we're seeing Ohio State kind of shift the board a little bit in terms of, one, who they are and the product they put on the football field, but the other thing is the ability to be able to attract guys from the National Football League. I think this is going to be a recurring trend to where guys from the NFL, maybe they're on their last leg, they're going to start coming to these type of universities, specifically Ohio State, because they understand how big of an institution it is, and if you can win, the opportunities that it presents for you.
These NFL GMs are going to fire these coaches and say, you need to go to Ryan Day Rehab for 2 years. Go to Ryan Day Rehab. He'll get you back in the league. So that's a lot of money for Matt Patricia. We're assuming around $3 million. The numbers aren't released. It's not Curt Cignetti money. Curt Cignetti gets a new contract, $13.2 million a year through 2033. You mentioned how these guys get paid. This is the third. We're breaking it down.
The contracts.
Okay,
crazy.
so when he was at James Madison just 4 years ago, he's making $425K. That's dentist money.
I'll take it.
And then he's making surgeon money, $677K.
I'll take it.
I would take it as well. And now he's what? He's about 20 times that at $13.2 million. Now, here's what's funny. This is the third time they renegotiated his deal in 2 years. So do you guys even care when you see through the year 2033? I used to have this debate with news directors all the time. We would report these contracts and they'd say, that means Urban Meyer's going to be here through. That means Ryan Day's going to. I said, no, it doesn't. No, it means that's his contract for 12 months. And if he does well, they're going to rip it up next year.
Yeah, but for Kirk Cignetti, I do think it's a situation where he's not going anywhere.
No,
No,
I mean,
not the same.
he said that. I mean, he said that, I think he said that midway through last year, his first season at Indiana, when they gave him an extension where, I think it was last year when they gave him, his first year they gave him an extension, maybe at the somewhere in the middle of the year or something like that. And he was like, yeah, this is where I'm X years old, this is my last stop, and he want to leave a legacy. And I think already he has left a legacy in all of college football, especially at that university where it will be a statue of Kirk Cignetti here sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, when you look at it, though, I mean, it's crazy to think that this guy just 5 years ago was making $400,000 and it jumps drastically to $13 million. And, one of the crazier things that, you never really have happen is you had his coordinators stick with him through the ride, and those guys are actually getting paid, doing part to the success. You got to love this situation. And I'd imagine it's a situation in his contract to where we're going to be hearing every single year he's getting an extension, because when you win a national championship, they probably put language in there for the next 3 years, he has to be in the, let's say, the next highest 2-3% of highest paid coaches in college football.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet that's the situation. So every single year when another coach's salary goes up, we're going to be hearing about Indiana and Kirk Cignetti's salary jumping higher and higher, because he's already etched himself in history in college football as one of the greatest coaches in college football history based off what he did in 2 short years.
Yeah. It's so funny. I didn't even think about that there's some, a receivers coach or a defensive backs coach. Like, they're making like 75, 80K a few years ago. And now they're like the guys who were friends with Zuckerberg back at Harvard. They found out, hey, this guy's taking us to the unbelievable. Well, here's the topic you guys all tuned into the show to listen to. Mylan Graham, former Ohio State receiver, goes in the portal to Notre Dame. And he has this quote this week. Someone asked him the difference between Notre Dame and Ohio State. And he made a comment that at Notre Dame, you actually have to go to class, physically be present in class. It blew up, 1.6 million views I saw on Twitter alone. And I clicked on the comments, guys. And in the comments, you know who was mentioned at least 100 times in those comments? My guy.
Jesus Christ.
My guy.
Still catching strays.
Everyone's in the comments. Well, yeah, Cardale Jones said we didn't come here to play school. Cardale Jones said we didn't.
Catching strays.
Still catching strays for one weak tweet moment a decade ago. So, all right.
Weak. I wouldn't say weak. It wasn't a weak moment.
You leaned into it.
I was completely sane and knew what I was doing.
It was a coherent moment.
Yeah,
Right?
I was very coherent. I've never been so woke in my life during that time.
All right, so let's start with you, Cardale. So I think you have a different take on this, because the world is hearing Mylan Graham saying academics don't matter at Ohio State. You're hearing something different based on where he is in school.
100%. I mean, Mylan Graham was a freshman here at Ohio State. So, and everybody knows, you was a freshman in college, you're in those kind of intermediate class. Well, you're in those beginning classes where you kind of filling out what major you're going to go into. So you're taking a lot of classes with a lot of other freshmen. You're probably in a class with, 70 to 80, probably even 300 people in certain situations where, you don't feel like you probably have to go to class because there's so many people in class, on top of having more online classes this day and age ever since COVID-19, where you having an opportunity to take those classes versus a place like Notre Dame is not even, is a fraction of the size of Ohio State when you're talking about the undergrad numbers,
right?
Where the classes in the environment is more intimate. So now, if you don't show up to a class of 300 people, the professor is going to be like, I don't even know who this kid is anyway. But if you don't show up to a class of 25 people, it's more noticeable. Now, if Mylan got into his degree, into his school here at Ohio State, when you are in those 20 to 25 person classrooms because you're now into your degree, then you do feel more, I wouldn't say pressure, but you do feel the need to be in there because it's a more intimate situation.
Yeah, I'd agree 100%. And like you said, the COVID changed the landscape of college in general with the offering of online classes. And then when you're at a place like Ohio State, right? Now, it wasn't like this when we were in school where you had social media be so heavy. Well, maybe with you a little bit with Twitter, but Instagram and TikTok and all those things, these guys are so recognizable to where it's probably a little bit of a distraction when you get an Ohio State football player. Imagine Jeremiah Smith having to go to class and what that's like for everybody.
When we say having to go to class, had in-person classes.
In-person classes. So to clarify, in-person class. So for a guy like him, you probably want to take a back seat and say, you know what, I'm going to go to school online because I don't want to be that much of a distraction to everybody on campus. And say with Mylan Graham, he was one of the higher rated recruits coming in here. So coaches structuring it. We're going to have you some online classes. You're not going to be on campus all day long.
But exactly. So I dealt with that right after we won a national championship.
Mhm.
And I was in my second semester of my sign language class. That's the foreign language I took here at Ohio State. And, it's all visual, clearly, because, you're learning the art of ASL. Yeah. American Sign
ALS
Language.
is Lou Gehrig.
Yeah,
disease.
exactly. I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. Yeah, American Sign Language.
Yeah.
And I remember, man, that first few weeks, really through that whole semester, where my grades started to slip. Contrary to I was a good student, but my grades started to slip because I'm in class and clearly you got big glass windows and people banging on the door, wanking past, like, oh my God, like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like trying to sign and trying to be focused. And I had my freaking teacher, man. I'll never forget this. And I was so freaking pissed. Literally email my coaches telling me I was a fucking distraction in class.
Oh,
And I was like,
but my status? Right.
I'm the distraction
Yeah.
because people are distracting me or banging on the door trying to get my attention when they walk past and see that I'm in class. And I was so pissed at that because I was really trying so hard in this freaking class. And I sent her a long email basically how dare you?
Yeah.
Like I have never once been a distraction in this class for something that I'm doing versus I guess the status that I gained overnight. And I was pretty pissed at that. So yeah, I can see those type of scenarios and situations for the higher profile athletes. And I think he was probably one of those guys. But like I said before, he wasn't into his degree yet. So he wasn't feeling like he needed to be in those intimate courses yet and in those smaller classes. So I know the comment was taken out of context because you do have to go to class.
You got to be eligible still.
Yeah. and you say that I ran into Jeremiah Smith once at a restaurant here in the area. It's not a normal experience. He didn't walk in and grab his takeout and walk out. Right. Everyone's snapping a pic. Hey, real quick. I mean, like,
of course, and everybody think they're the only one.
Yeah, yes,
Right.
just one. I just need one. Yeah, the 17 guys I just walked by needed one too.
Yeah, exactly.
Just one. Yeah, it's different. Okay, another guy we're talking about contracts today who's about to get paid. JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba, is about to make triple what Curt Cignetti's making. He wants to be the highest paid receiver. He said, I would do it for free. Why should he have to do it for free? if someone's going to pay you 30 or 40 million. So he wants to get paid. He says he thinks he's the highest paid receiver in the league. He deserves to be that. 119 catches last year, 1793, 1,793 yards, 10 scores, a Super Bowl title. And you know what else I thought that JSN said? And he said, and I'm active in my community, which I actually love that because I think it matters because we know JSN. He's a good dude. He's a good charity dude, a community guy. So he thinks he deserves to get paid for everything he does for the city of Seattle. I agree. I'm sure sitting next to two players, you're going to agree too.
100%. I mean, you look at what he's done since he's been there. And I know Seattle will do the right thing because they wouldn't have traded away their franchise player to free up some cap room for Jackson and Witherspoon. Yeah. I think he's on the defense side of the ball that's up for some major contracts.
Those two guys changed that.
Yeah, those two guys and Kobe Bryant, man, they changed that.
They
changed that culture of that team. I love it. But no. But in all seriousness, yeah, he deserved to be the highest paid player at his position. And then I think the writing's on the wall. When you talk about the stars aligning, Seattle, after their owner passed away, I think 4 or 5 years ago, the ownership of the team sat in a trust. And it can only sit in the trust for 5 years. Well, that 5th year is up. So they have to, the team has to sell this year. Like, it's no ifs, ands, or buts. It can't go into the 2026 season without an official owner. Man, perfect timing because they're gonna break the record for the highest paid, sports franchise in history and things like that. And that number just skyrocketed because they just won a Super Bowl.
Yep. Yeah. The value of that team is crazy.
Oh my God, the value of the team. So I'll be just waiting in the weeds to see that big time owner, purchase this team for, $8, probably $9 billion. And I'll be, if I'm JSN, I'll be the first call. Hey, let me get a little piece of that.
Right.
But just put me on the ownership group. I'll still play for whatever. Just put me on the ownership.
And what's funny though is the richest square mile in the U.S. When we went up to the Buckeyes played Washington, that's right where all the .com dudes live right there. They all have their yachts. It's well, there was a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not that Amazon's Bezos' ex-wife is it Mackenzie Hughes, I want to say, but Bezos' ex-wife might be in the mix because she got half of a lot.
Right. And she gave away a lot of money too.
She did. She's very charitable.
Yep.
Unlike Bezos, who keeps raising his prime. But anyways, what do you think, Beanie?
No, man, I love it. But the only question I have, he's only in year 2, right? He's finishing year 2. He'll be going into year.
No, he's finishing year 3.
He's finishing year 3. He's going into 4.
Okay, so it's perfect. It's perfect.
So it's re-up time.
Yeah, it's absolutely re-up time. I don't know why I was thinking that he was finishing year 2 right now, and I was like,
probably because they wasted year 1 and didn't even use him really. I mean, they threw the ball at the line of scrimmage all season. They wasted because he was with DK and Tyler Lockett at that point.
You're 100% right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a situation where it's the perfect storm, like you said. They're selling, and as a new ownership group coming in, the biggest thing that you want to do is resonate with the fans, right? You want to touch the fan base immediately, and what better way to do that is to take care of your guys after winning a Super Bowl. Lock down the guys that are important to that franchise, and you do it immediately. And you talk about Jackson Smith-Njigba, he is a community guy. His dad is actually a firefighter out there. So, I mean, so it's amazing.
Great family.
Great family. It'll be an amazing situation, an amazing story for the entire Seahawks fan base there to get this deal done early. And let's not let it drag on and be one of those deals where he has to not be in training camp or not be in OTAs. This is something you want to attack right now. And legitimately, he is the best receiver in football. So you rightfully so make him the highest paid wide receiver. Yeah, and the other thing is, no matter what you think, if you're the Seahawks, it's going to feel expensive now, and then in 3 years, he's a bargain. Just the way these things keep going. So pay the man now,
100%.
And you'll be better off. Coming up next, we're going to talk about a Buckeye basketball player, Bruce Thornton, who is about to make history and yet has never played in the NCAA tournament. Will that change? Stay with us. Welcome back to The Script, the podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Hit us up on all social at The Script OSU. Guys, let's talk some college basketball here. Bruce Thornton, now second on the all-time scoring list. He trails only Dennis Hobson. Bruce Thornton, man, first 4-time captain in school history. He's one of the greats, and yet has never played a game in March Madness. It's funny because all around the Big Ten, you almost feel like this groundswell of support. People almost feel bad, like Bruce deserves to play in March, man. So what do you guys make of the run, this 4-year run by Bruce Thornton?
I mean, it's been great. You know, it's just tough. It's tough. It's great as an individual, tough as a team, because, you know, so many times we've been right on the bubble. And then you look over the history of Ohio State especially the last couple of years, where if the game was 35 minutes long, maybe 36 minutes long instead of 40, you know, I think Ohio State around to have a couple of national championships under their belt, let alone some tournament appearances. And it's just some way, somehow, we don't find a way to win those winnable games and close games. And I look at the Nebraska game in particular, the last game I went to, and now to see Nebraska's a top 10 team in the country, man, that game was so winnable for us. And if we didn't win that game, we maybe not be talking about a bubble team right now, having to go, you know, 3 of the next 4 or 4-0 to have those conversations that get into the tournament. But we can be a team that's looking for a pretty nice, favorable seeding in the tournament. So it's frustrating to see some of these games, especially the games he had great performances, legendary performances, where we don't ultimately get the win. But it goes back to the point of what's more important, numbers or letters. I just want more letters accommodated with some of these great numbers that he's putting up. But I think he's going to go down as the number one leading scorer. I think he's about 60 points away. Yeah. Hopefully it happens Sunday, because I am going to that Purdue game. So
it's funny, if you look at this team, what Cardale's referencing, they were winless against ranked teams all year. They finally beat Wisconsin, but those losses, they were close to Carolina, close to Illinois, close to Nebraska, even played Michigan State tough. Like, they were close. There was only one, the Michigan game, they got hammered. But all the other ranked
there, they played them tough.
Yes, right. All these other ranked games came down to the final 2 minutes of the game, Beanie. And, you know, basketball, like most sports, slim margin here. And when you're on the wrong side of too many of these, now that you got a stressful final 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, like you just said, I mean, this guy has been all world for this basketball team, and to be in a position to where he's going to be the all-time leading scorer, and then he hasn't made a tournament, it's got to be a bittersweet type deal. And obviously, you know, when you look at his personal accolades and when you step away from the team aspect, it's great. You love it. You're happy. You're proud of yourself. But you ultimately want to compete at the highest level. And what's more than the highest level than being in the NCAA tournament? That's the big dance everybody wants to get in. And, you know, for you to have an historic career at the University of Ohio State and you to have never been in that moment, you have to be chomping at the bit and literally motivating your team and getting them to understand, hey, this is important. These next 4 games that we have, this isn't just for me and my personal accolades. This is for the university in its entirety. These are, you have to treat them like tournament games.
These are all tournament games. I think because, a loss or potentially 2, you're done.
Yeah.
And then you're worried about the NIT and whatever else there's some new tournament that they just
did every year, man. It's the CBI, the CBT. I can't even
keep. I would hope, man. I would hope, even if Ohio State don't get to March Madness, man, in the NCAA tournament, I will hope. I think last year they declined to play in one of those tournaments. I will hope they have an opportunity to play in something because to continue to watch them play and ultimately, I won't say a consolation prize, but still going to play against talent and tough teams. And hopefully he can win something.
Yeah, after the game against Michigan State, Tom Izzo, who is arguably the most respected coach in Big Ten history, Tom Izzo gushed about Bruce Thornton and said he could have left.
Yeah.
Most guys would have left. In this era, most guys would have left. And Bruce Thornton gave the Buckeyes 4 good years. Hopefully he gives them 4 good games here to finish up the regular season. All right, the other big story out of Buckeye land, Joy Dunn, Ohio State women's hockey player, along with a couple former Buckeyes, Kayla Barnes and Hannah Bilka, all won gold medal in Italy at the Olympics. We saw a lot of former Buckeyes, but women's hockey especially is loaded with it. They had players, I believe, on all 4 of the Final 4 teams. They had either current or former Buckeyes. So you guys have won some awards. You guys have won some trophies. How cool is a gold medal on the list of things you can win as an athlete?
Oh, I think it's definitely up there. I mean, it would be up there with, Super Bowl, national championships, winning a gold medal, doing something to go out there and say you're the best, not only in the state, right? Not only in the United States, but the best in the country. And you're representing in the world. You're best in the world, man. I mean,
it's the kitty in the world.
It's amazing.
Okay, go ahead, Cardale, and then I'm going to play a game here. I'm going to put this to the test.
I think a gold medal, especially in a individual sport, clearly it's amazing. I don't think you can compare it.
Yeah.
But a team sport, and you're put with other guys, like you're not playing with like guys from the Blue Jackets are playing on the USA team with guys from the Black Hawks and guys from the Vegas and all this stuff. So you're putting together basically an all-star team of people of your people from your country, and y'all going against other countries like y'all going to war.
Yeah,
I think a gold medal and being able to compete in the Olympics is the highest level of accomplishment you can have in sports, period.
Okay. So let's say, and this is hard because there's no Olympic medal for football, but what would you rather have, Cardale? A Lombardi? Would you rather win a Super Bowl or win a gold medal? What do you think's cooler?
I think winning a gold medal is cooler.
Oh, what do you think?
So change this, Cardale. Being a starting quarterback, winning a Lombardi.
What, you had Cardale riding the bench in the Super Bowl?
I win that thing on the bench. I don't want to give a 2 about it. I was part of the team, whatever. But I think it's still, I think it's still winning the gold medal because of I think the experience, the level of competition, and then clearly we're talking about sports like hockey, sports like soccer. Oh my God. The environment, the path. It's a 4-year process of you preparing for these things. If you're a track player, whatever the case may be, I think it's winning the gold medal is I think it's the highest accomplishment that an athlete can do.
Yeah, I'm not taking that one though, Dave. So to answer your question, give me the Super Bowl all day long.
Okay. So now let's get off the gold medal.
I live in the U.S., people.
Now I'm curious. All right, Cardale, you got a national championship. Would you have rather had a Super Bowl or a natty with the Buckeyes?
I would definitely take the fashion that we won a national championship. I would take the national championship.
Okay, how about you? A natty or a Super Bowl?
Ooh, shoot.
This is an Ohio State podcast. Just give you a heads up.
That's tough, but I definitely have to say winning a national championship. Yeah, I would. I mean, and I lost 2 of them. So this thing that pits on me every time I think about it, I would definitely say winning a national championship.
Okay, how about this, Beanie? Would you rather win the Big Ten title or a Doak Walker Award as the nation's top running back?
Doak Walker.
Oh my God.
He's like, I'm here to win.
Didn't even hesitate.
That was his tweet. I didn't come here to win Big Tens. I came here to win Doak Walker.
It's funny when you talk about like things like that because certain things correlate with certain accomplishments. Because usually you can win the Dope Walker Award, and usually if you do that, you're probably gonna get drafted high. And play If you win a Big Ten championship, I was on the team. What was your numbers?
I won 3 Big Ten championships.
So you trade one for a Dope Walker. How about you, Cardale? Would you rather win the Big Ten or the Davey O'Brien?
I'd rather win the Dave.
No one cares about winning the Big Ten.
I'm sorry.
You guys won too many Big Ten titles that you don't care.
In this day and age, it don't matter. You still go to playoffs.
Right. Yeah.
So give me the individual.
Dave, how about you? Would you rather win an Emmy, or even though you got like 40 of them, or what's the other award? I mean, what am I thinking?
Well, let me think.
It'll be #1 podcast.
Oh, #1 podcast. Are you kidding me? Why? Who says we can't have both? Who says? All right, let me get you this before we go to break here. The UFL, United Football League, announced a few new rule changes. Well, it's new, but I mean different rules. 1 foot in bounds on a catch. You cannot punt the ball once you cross the 50-yard line.
Hello.
Wow.
60-yard field goals count as 4 points. All right, how do you guys feel about a few of these? Because we know history shows that the NFL watches these other leagues and just sees how some of these crazy rules play out. What do you think?
I actually love the 1 foot in catch. I've never been a huge fan of getting 2 feet in. I mean, because there have been some amazing catches out there.
The stats would indicate that Beanie was never a fan of getting two feet.
It's ridiculous. I mean, if I got an amazing catch and I'm getting just to manage to get 1 toe tap in there, that's amazing. I mean, sometimes placement is what matters in those situations. And then obviously, we talk about the 4-point play. I love it. I love situations to where you can figure out ways to score more points in lesser situations. And not even the lesser situation, hell, a 60-yard field goal is tough to do.
So what I was saying, Cardale, we talked about this briefly before the show. If you're on the 40-yard line, okay, that's like a 58-yard field goal. Will you see a team on 3rd and 16 take a 2-step drop, kneel it, and then kick a 4-point field goal?
I mean, if 60-yard field goals is the goal to get 4 points, and you need those 4 points to win a game or whatever the situation may be, it may be worth it. We have all the analytics now in football where a guy hits a 30-yard field goal or 40-yard field goal, and it shows this would have been good from 64.
Right.
So you have all of those things now will play into the new game management and game planning for ultimately more points. When I was playing in the XFL before the merger of the USFL and the XFL, which now is the UFL, 2-point conversion, like the extra points, you can go for it. It was no kicking.
Right.
From the 2-yard line, it was 1. 5-yard line, it was 2. 10-yard line, it was 3. Now, clearly, if you're going usually from for a 2 or a 3-point conversion, you're going to be throwing the ball. So there's different mechanics there and game planning there as well. So I like it. I don't know if the NFL will adopt something like that. Usually it takes the NFL to see it happen for a couple of years before they make the adjustment and an adoption of it. Like, for example, the kickoff was presented years ago, actually, and I think in the HBCU All-American game, those guys play in, like the Reese's All-American game guys play in, coming out of, getting ready for the draft years ago before the XFL adopted it, and then the UFL and now the NFL. So I can see them slowly but surely getting more data behind it and see if it's really worth, implementing a new rule.
Before we go to break here, Beanie, I just want to make sure we're saying Doak Walker or a pair of gold pants. This is just a sanity test.
I'm taking my gold pants.
All right. The show will continue.
Yeah, for sure. I'm taking the gold pants.
That God.
That's not even a close thought.
Good. Coming up next, we're going to break down something that happened in court this week with a Tennessee quarterback and what we think it means for rule changes in college football moving forward. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Script, the podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Click subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. All right, guys, time now for our Buckeye Basement Solution. We try to find a solution to something in college football, and this week the courts found a solution. All right, so if you don't know the story, Joey Aguilar, quarterback for the Tennessee Vols, was trying to come back to school for an 8th year. Now, in my day, we called that a PhD, all right? He's not going to medical school as far as I know. But he's at all sorts of things, junior college, health, a lot of things can happen where these guys get these. He's 24 years old. The courts put their foot down and said, no, you don't get 8 years in college football. So is there something we need to do? Because I never thought we'd get there, but we are here, guys, where these players want to be professional college football players.
Yeah, of course these guys do, because I think when you look at some of these guys in their situations who's going to be household names on their campuses, but you look at them in the long term, they may not have as big of an opportunity at the next level. So if I'm a household name here in Knoxville, is that where Tennessee is?
Yeah.
In Knoxville, and I can make north of 7 figures consistently, I'm going to continue to try to do that.
Yep.
And I make this example in a comparison of guys like myself, guys like JT Barrett, guys like Tosh Boyd in the NIL space, where you knew these guys. I don't think our names and our situations would have been bigger than when we was in college.
Braxton Miller,
a spade.
Troy
right?
Smith would have been one.
Yeah, a lot of these, we can name so many of these guys, and they're definitely have the right to maximize their NIL as long as they can. But that's the key thing, as long as you can. But not no 8 years. Like, come on, at some point we gotta, you know,
some point mom and dad say you gotta move out and get a job.
At some point, man.
All right, Beanie. So do we need to put an age cap? Because the other thing is, from a competitive standpoint, you and I have talked about this before. Mm-hmm. Guys want older players now.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you've got 24-year-olds going against 19-year-olds. Yeah. This is like a different league.
It is. I mean, because from a physical standpoint, yeah, they may be the same, but mentally, you know how much more of an advantage that is over somebody who's not mentally prepared to be a college athlete and you've been there for 6, 7, 8 years. I think it's a little bit ridiculous. So we have to figure out a way to put a cap on it. I don't know if it's an age range or it's a opportunity in terms of 6 years.
Because, well, right now it's 7.
Well, it got real muddy.
But it's because of like JUCO and other stuff too.
COVID.
It got muddy during COVID because he gave everybody back that year, which I totally agree with to a certain extent. But we still played that sport that COVID year. You just, you didn't get the experience, whatever you want to call it. It's a kid at Miami, one of their linebackers. He's playing his 8th season of college football and things like that. And this, you know, you see guys, the guys that he was came out of high school with are, you know, getting ready for max contracts in NFL.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So yeah, we need to figure out that balancing act. And so I don't know the Buckeye solution to it versus just NCAA just usually just folds so hard when the issues push versus come up with a real solution, say, okay, and then try to really save face as these situations get out of hand. Okay, now we got to put our foot down.
Yeah. So the question that I have, though, Joey Aguilar, yes, he was denied, but is it going to be a situation to where we just saw with Trinidad Chamberlain? He takes this thing to the state court, the state steps in and says, you know what, you can get this additional year, and now the NCAA is just left with their hands out. Like, what do we do at this point?
That's the thing that shocked me, is just the fact that they won any case in court. Like, I'm just so used, like Cardale, I'm used to them folding every time. Right. The players are winning. It's so nuts. 5 years ago, the players couldn't win anything. And now the players are all Floyd Mayweather. They can't lose.
I think it's due in part to in fact that everybody understands how big of a hoax the NCAA has been at times. They've been so fake in the way that they assess things.
Exactly.
That's all they've been doing.
That's the biggest thing in the last couple of years. These players have been calling the NCAA bluffs.
Yeah. Well, if your damp or wet basement needs a quality solution by a local company, hit up our guys at Buckeye Basement Solutions. Brio Mastroianni, the owner there, is our friend. He's a great dude. Give him a call, 614-956-4592, or get on BuckeyeBasementSolutions.com. All right, guys, let's talk Sacramento State. I am a MAC alum, as I've said proudly on this show, Kent State. Now, Sacramento State is joining the MAC in football.
Yes.
What in the geographical nonsense? And they're given all this money, and they're given all the leverage. I never thought the MAC could take advantage of anyone until little naive Sacramento State walked in the bar and they said, hey, come over here. What are you going to give us just to play football? This is nuts.
So the numbers are crazy, right? Yeah. Sacramento State is paying $20 million to join the MAC. They can't participate in the MAC championship games for the first couple of years. And then they have to pay an additional $6 million per year entry fee. And then this whole thing to where it's rumors, because I don't have it locked down in front of me just yet, but I'm sure to trickle out and the paperwork will be out there. But the rumor has it is that they have to pay these schools travel fees to come to them and play. If this isn't the kid in high school that buys all the designer, wanting to be cool to fit in real quick and say, look, I got the new Jordans. Nobody cares. Those are 2 years old.
Yeah, except that kid's trying to be he's trying to be cool with the chess team. It's the MAC. I mean, come on. I say that as a proud MAC alum. What are we doing here? It's the MAC.
This is almost, it's just like, why all these teams in the Bay Area quick to get out their conference?
Yes, right.
Cal, ACC, Stanford, ACC, now SAC and the freaking MAC is Stacking the Mac. We just came up with something, baby.
Print the t-shirts.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's kind of crazy because the travel is going to be crazy for all three of those teams. And we saw the impact on the Kyle and Stanford over the last couple of years playing down at Florida State or coming across country playing Clemson and stuff like that. But I can see that you having to pay those travel fees for a team to come play you because the MAC isn't, just swimming in money. These teams aren't just swimming in money. So now just to play a game on a Wednesday night, we got to fly across the country, So yeah, you guys got to come out those pockets.
They get no rev share for 5 years.
Oh,
dude, that's even crazy. So where's this money coming from?
Yeah, they ain't hurting for money then.
yeah. Apparently they're doing all right. Yeah, it's crazy. And like Cardale said, when you have those Maction games in November, like on a Wednesday night, so Buffalo is going to fly to Sacramento State to play a Wednesday night game. Like, come on. Yeah, but we're still student athletes.
Right.
Still to make sure you get coursework done.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Well, we finish up today, guys, with something that's tragic. I mean, a name that we have mentioned on this show many times, Rondale Moore, former Purdue wide receiver, then went to the NFL with the Arizona Cardinals, took his own life this week at the age of 25. And we brought him up because that game in West Lafayette, I was there that night, 12 catches, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns. One of the best college games I've ever seen. He treated the Buckeyes like 11 cones out there. But it's a reminder, and we've talked about it on this show before, guys, 53 guys in a locker room, all right, at the NFL level. The odds are that all 53 of them are not all right. And I think sometimes we have this perception, me on the outside, media fan, whatever you want to refer to me, we have this perception that you're an athlete, you make a lot of money, you're having fun. How in the world could you ever be sad about anything? But if Rondale Moore or Robin Williams, the actor, or any of these stories tells you, it doesn't pick. Fame, fortune, athletics, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be okay.
No, man, it's tough. Mental health at this level, particularly the NFL, is something that you got to pay a lot of attention to. And, talking to being a retired guy, talking to so many older guys, heck, even myself, you deal with these issues. And then from the standpoint of, especially a younger guy, getting out of the NFL, trying to figure out what's next after your entire life has been a structured routine. And now you no longer have that structure. Now you no longer have that routine. You no longer have people around you on a consistent basis, making sure you're here, making sure you're there. And then, quite frankly, you don't have those people patting you on the back, telling you how good you are.
Yeah.
So life is completely different. And it's hard. It's hard to adjust. And, I know he was just on the roster, but I don't know everything that he was going through. But I'd imagine when you're told you're no longer going to be in the National Football League, you're no longer going to have access to certain things, it is a difficult task to figure out ways to adjust and adapt to life after football. It is not an easy thing to transition. We've seen it time and time again, year after year, by multiple guys who struggle and unfortunately end up, either going left or taking their life even further. But it's not an easy task whatsoever. So taking care of your mental health is something that I encourage on a regular basis, no matter what sport or what you do in life, because it is so critical, it is so important. And we can see people go left all of a sudden. All it takes is just one single thought for you to go in this deep, dark depression. It's hard.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think the frustration for me, and it's always curious to see what the generations behind you is going to deal with and struggle with. And in this generation, this day and age, mental health has been on kind of the focus point. It's not just for athletes. I mean, I look at things that's happening in our own community. I look at things that's happening on a high level here, at Ohio State. We have a fraternity on campus right now, AE Pi, who's doing an unbelievable thing right now. My guy, Ian, of their fraternity is spreading awareness and doing things to prevent suicide, right? To show everyone like, hey, you know what? You're not alone in this fight and in this battle when you're talking about mental health, and we all trying to do our part. And I think in the day and age for me transitioning from football the last couple of years, I was searching for that next thing to drive me just like football did. And the mental health space has been that answer for me. So I went down a rabbit hole of really learning as much as I can to really help people who struggling with these type of issues and these type of thoughts, like Beanie was just saying, and wanting to really, I would say, get off the sideline and do my part. So it's something now of supporting people on a high level of mental health has kind of been my new driving factor. And I think that's one big thing that we deal with as former athletes, finding that next thing that's going to continue to get us out the bed.
Let me ask you guys this, something that, and we're not implying this was Rondale Moore's case at all, but in a bigger conversation here in mental health, do you guys notice that all of a sudden when you got to Ohio State or you win the national title, you have way more friends than you used to? And then did you notice when you're out of the league, couple guys fell off.
Well,
100%, 110%.
100%. I think that's in any aspect of life, period. You know, you have the perception of guys who playing at a National Football League or just professional athletes or someone who's making a lot of money or successful that they don't have problems. No, our problem's just a little bit different than yours, right? So no matter who it is, Dave, you just hit the nail on the head. It doesn't matter. It doesn't care about your profession, your skin color, your religions, your sexual preferences. It doesn't matter. Mental health and these struggles can happen for any and everyone. It's all about the right people you have in your corner, in your circle, and the right, I would say, tools and programming you have at your disposal to support you through these tough times.
Dave, I've always compared it to playing in the National Football League and, you know, being a quote unquote star to being on a cruise ship. Everybody's aboard this cruise ship. You're having the best time ever, right? You're having a ball. But when that cruise ship is time to dock and go home, who's left on a cruise ship?
Yeah.
It's the people to clean it up. And if you don't have a good support system to help you clean up your life and help you get back on track, then it's just you on that cruise ship and you're left to pick up the pieces. So everybody that was on a board once upon a time, everybody having the ball, no, it's no longer. Everybody's jumped off.
It's funny you guys say this because I think we often look at other people's lives and we think, if I just had that, I'd be happy, which that's the problem with Instagram, social media. There's this mass jealousy in society. But I look at it and say, if I just had, you know, Cardale's, whatever, if I had his athleticism or whatever,
or his good looks.
Or his good looks. Yeah. Or if I had Beanie's money, right? Like these athletes make all this, and they think they got the money, the girls, the fame. But I mean, I'm going to say this flippantly, the mo money, mo problems thing. There is something to it. The problems are just different. Not paying your bills is stressful. But having money and having 70 people hitting you up and running around with you and trying to spend it for you and fake friendships, it's just a different set of problems that athletes deal with.
No, 100%. And you know, like I said, I think it's just really with people, period. Everybody got their own issues on their own problems. But, you know, I would challenge anyone who think that, you know, athletes have it all figured out and don't have their own problems. And I remember when, you know, people got, you know, LeBron took a big hit at his imagery when, you know, he lost the first championship down in Miami. And he was just like, you know, hey, you know, you're still going to wake up with your problems. I'm still going to have mine and things like that. It's like, you know, the world goes on and we all deal with a lot of issues, similar issues. It just come in different forms.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one other thing we want to say, we're going to give a shout out and just support to Jelani Thurman, former Buckeye. Went and transferred to North Carolina, but once a Buckeye, always a Buckeye. He lost his mother this past week. Cardale, I know you're kind of familiar with the situation. We want to give our love to him for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Jelani Thurman and that family, you know, sending love and prayer to Dream and the rest of his family. Kara was someone that was an unbelievable soul. His mom and full of life. And she didn't play about her baby. I tell you guys that, you know, from the very beginning, from my first talk to those guys in the NIL space and the recruitment space, and just became really good friends with her over the last couple of years. And she just had a birthday less than 2 weeks ago. And it's just so sad. And my heart goes out to Jelani and knowing that he's in a new environment now where he may not have as close a relationship with guys in that locker room and those coaching staffs yet, as he did with the guys at Ohio State. Spent the last couple of years here where he feel like he can lean on those guys in his time of need. But he knows this. I've seen a lot of his teammates, former teammates from Ohio State, already been pouring out so much love and support on social media. And I guarantee these guys are blowing his phone up that he still has love and a home here. And we all praying for him and praying for his family. And sucks to be going through this tough time right now, but we got his back.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that'll do it for us on this week of The Script, the podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. We'll see you back here next week. New episodes every Wednesday.